Hi, welcome to Warblog. It's been a while since I actually made a scenario, but there's actually a sort of good reason for that. I mean, I did this, well, obviously when it was happening. And then I got back from wherever I was, and I had the flu all the way through till sort of mid-January, at least the second week of January, approaching the third week, and then in the third week of January, so to speak, and for the whole of February, I was stonked. I was just getting up, working. I wasn't even resting. It was a whole February vanished, and it's still the only reason I'm still in February because there was a surprise leap year. But I managed to put this together because obviously Advika is now sort of fallen. I'm not sure whether this is. I think it's to the near Advika, but they're sort of moving on Chasiv Yar, and I think there's a few other places. So I think there's a few other opportunities for creating scenarios. But I thought I would just do a video because obviously I've been out for the count for over a month and longer. So let's just there's plenty of units in this one. What I did with this one, I've given them both, well, it's all a bit hit and miss, but I've given them both plenty of reinforcements. So it's more of a sort of a game, but it's interesting to see how that works because what I'm sure, to some extent, I was actually thinking quite a lot about things, trying to sort of, what can I do? And I actually thought of some ideas, but what can I do to sort of really make this reflect the Ukraine war? Because the Ukraine war is pretty much the defining war of modern war. You know, it's as modern as you can get. But the point is, the rules are slightly different, and there's lots of things in here that are not included that you might think should be included. And I don't want to get granular or very specific about things, but I think it's an opportunity. And to be quite honest, I haven't done any coding on this for a long time. I was amazed at it. I was amazed that it actually works. I'm always amazed by these things. But basically, someone said to me, create this browser-based hex encounter war game that's awesome. I go, no, that's just way too complicated and way too much work. But all that aside, what I'm sort of thinking about, things like supply. Because obviously a lot of this comes down to supply, and a command could be, but I think supply and command all go hand in hand. But I was just thinking about supply because essentially, I mean, without sort of, we haven't gone into the play mode yet. So let's see if we can have a look at Advika. Because this was Advika, and we know what happened. I mean, this was sort of the situation sort of a long time ago. I don't know when I did this, October, you know, it went on for a long time, but they actually sort of came down here, and they came down here, leaving them very little scope for escaping. There should be some roads on here, really, because there's roads at west. And obviously there's a big breakthrough here with the sewage pipes, wherever they came through, and a big break elsewhere, but they eventually retreated, as opposed to the other place, Bakhmut or whatever it's called, where they fought very much to the bitter end, I imagine. But the thing is, sort of considering supply, I sort of think, well, what can I do? And I haven't decided anything, you know, but I'm just thinking to make it a different game. And so what I've done in this one is not so much to reflect supply, but it's sort of both sides get reinforcements coming in, because I'm sort of tinkering with that idea of continued replenishment. And I think, I mean, I've seen other war games, and to some extent, you know, I'm far more interested in the concept of game than simulation, to make it playable and make it sort of interesting and somehow reflect, you know, what's happening. It's not table tennis or something like that. But to sort of have something that sort of reflects the situation more. So obviously we've got a lot of other things coming in. For example, and one of the big things here is that, you know, it's all pretty much small scale insurgency type units. And I was thinking, if you were to show a picture of, say, a Somme trench line, it would be just stuffed with soldiers but the trench lines in the Ukraine war appear to be empty, and so it's very different. You can almost model it a lot on Squad Leader. There isn't sort of the density of troops, but they're still controlling the density of front line, and just basically thinking how can I sort of change this game to really reflect the situation now as a sort of a standard reference, and in particular supply, because I think so for example, one of the things I did consider, and this is one of the difficulties, and I wasn't planning on having this little chat in the video, I was planning on playing this, but I will. Oh look, well, let's sort that out. There is, I want to put some mines in there, but basically what I was thinking was things like out of ammo. So you could have these people, and because the thing is, you don't have infinite ammunition to sort of engage with these things, and so a lot of the initiatives could be sort of, are you up to supply, and can you get your supplies faster than the other person? Because it might be both sides are sort of waiting. It could be a matter of just days, or hours, or weeks or something until they're fully supplied, as much as anything else. Let me put it on pause. Sort that out. Okay, so I've done some edits. Same difference, I just couldn't find the refresh button. Yeah, so we now don't have that, and then we've got a little thing there. But yeah, basically I was thinking about that and other things. But let's just get into play mode. One of the other things I was thinking about was it seems to me that the Russians now have impetus. I don't know why they couldn't do this during the 2023 spring offensive, and to be quite honest, I'm really not convinced. I've been going through it in my mind that the West, or the Ukraine, did the right thing from the point of view. I'm pretty sure they messed up big time. I mean, the thing is, we don't know exactly what was going on the ground. We can't see behind the scenes, and we're only armchair generals. Me in particular, exactly. But the point is that by observation, you're sort of thinking, I know I keep saying this, something grand should have happened, some sort of unstoppable force, because that's what war is all about. They just seem to sort of chip away at an undestructible line. I'm sure they could have done something, and now they've run out of steam, impetus, and I think the Russians are really going to start, once they've got through Advika and this road to Chasiv Yar, they're going through a lot of fields. This map doesn't really do that much justice, but it does seem that the battles go from city to city, so it's really just a case of sort of getting through the fields to the city. That the battle is going to really happen at the city. That's where the defensive lines are by default, because they're built up areas. And the fields of fire are going to come across the fields and the open areas around that, and supplies going to come from those sort of defensive areas. So I think what's happening after Advika, I think it was, the Russian forces are naturally going to sort of, push on to the next big place. And to be quite honest, I can never remember anything. I can visage the map in my mind's eye, but this seems like the next big place. They've just taken over a few other little places. So, but again, let's just start doing things. I mean, we've got this sort of town here. This seems to be quite open. And so it seems to me that, they're going to break through on these. Now, maybe I haven't done this justice because it's not much of a built-up area. Maybe I could put more built-up area around it. But one of the things I haven't done on this, and this is deliberate, I haven't given them a lot of defensive features. There's a defensive feature there, that they're entrenched. There's a defensive feature there, but because this is these people, they've fallen back. The defensive, Advika was full of defensive features, fortifications. And I think they've got lines to fall back onto, but it comes to the stage where if they break through, particularly anywhere, they're going to be up against essentially virtually nothing. And that was, I mean, I don't think I wouldn't like to say this was the mistake of the Ukrainians in 2023, because this is what we're told was the mistake, but they allowed the Russians a long time to dig in, to prepare defences. I don't really think that was really the issue, because they were doing it anyway. But I think so there is some sort of weight in that. But I think that basically once those sort of, so what I'm saying is they're not critical, but they are important and significant. And once the Russians have broken through the prepared defences, they're going to find very little to hold them back. And I think there's going to be, the point I'm trying to get to here really is there's going to be a massive drive by the Russians through essentially crumbling Ukrainian defences, because they're going to lose all their hard fortifications and their predetermined lines. I mean, of course they've built properly defences everywhere. But the point I'm trying to get to is that it gets dangerous, and you get Macron talking about putting NATO troops in, because essentially you're going to have one or two things. Either Ukraine is going to surrender, and it seems to me that they're not allowed to surrender, or somehow the West is going to step in and say no, and they're going to somehow become more involved with the conflict. And I don't know how much more involved you can get other than putting NATO troops, and we don't want to just say American troops, but that's essentially what it would be. And I'm not sure what difference it would make. I think the key difference is will be the air power. So what might have happened here is that the Ukrainians have been used to wear down the Russians, and I think what 20 and 23 taught us generally was that the Russians are unable to just waltz through. They can't. It's there used to be a lot of talk about the Fulda Gap or something, and the Russians, sweeping through Poland and into Germany within 2 days. Which clearly they can't do that. There's mobile warfare seems to have come to an end, and so. But the thing is, it'd be interesting to see how swiftly the Russians can move, and whether they can actually do anything that would be classified as mobile warfare, breaking through. And we've got a little bit of an example here, and I'm actually going to try and play that as an example, because what we've got here, obviously there's a town there which acts as a defensive feature, and there's some minefields around it. It's quite difficult, but there does look like to be a line through there. So you could sort of say we could drive through there, but maybe I should edit it and put some more mines there so that it's not that easy. But either way, it's going to be sort of difficult. Down here, where there's a road, there's actually quite a lot of defensive features. I've just put another one in there. So, there's a town with defensive features, Ivanivor there. But basically so there's that defensive area there. But this is sort of open. This could be a breakthrough, and there's only one little town there where they can sort of, and it's not fortified. This is what I'm saying. This is why I've left them unfortified, because not everything behind the lines can be fortified. Chasiv Yar would not have been fortified if they felt that they could hold back Advika for, and I think there's Advika over here, but I just can't remember. Can't remember anything really unless it's written down. This is why I'm good at writing things down like this. But the point is, I'm going to try and break through here. So we've got one thing that's stopping a real breakthrough. So what we can say is, can we get rid of this? And we've got plenty of engineers, look, because I sort of plonked them in and I forgot to distribute them, but they're all there. So what we've got to do is move him out of the way. Now that should be really easy. We shouldn't even have to try with that. So if we just sort of even just attack him with one unit, a 5-1, that clears the road right out. There's two in there, so we can come up through. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, but what we also want to do, we want to protect our engineers. I think I might have moved him accidentally in one of these sort of error glitchy things that sometimes happens. So we've now protected our engineers, so we can now move some more engineers in there, just in case they've got lots of artillery. So we will now break through. I won't pile up 3, so I'll leave these ones sort of reload. What have we got in there? We've got 2, so I obviously didn't move him. Oh, I see. There's a 2 limit stack. There's 2 stacking limit because it's a thing, you know, with barbed wire. I don't know what they're called. Whatever this obstacle is. One of these things that you need a bulldozer for. Oh dear. So that is our preliminary move. So what you can see here, getting my favourite thing out ever, the drawing tool, putting my favourite colours together, big red 10. We've now got this line that defends that, but we haven't actually done any combat yet. So now we can sort of say, well, what can we do? Now obviously we can try and break through here anyway. I don't want to do any movement there just yet. Let's get another colour to define the other areas, because this is quite clearly something like that. We can move that forward a bit. And at the moment this is more obviously like that, but none of this can be got through quickly. So the best we can do is to sort of move into these hexes, although we can sort of break through south like this, and that might be an option. But obviously we can try to push through here, but it can only move 2 hexes at a time. But here I think what we want to do is to somehow say, well, what can we do here to really break this road open, and maybe not attack here and not attack here, or maybe just at this moment, so then we can just sort of plough through to Chasiv Yar. Now we've got some special forces, and both sides get mechanised and armoured units piecemeal throughout the game. Not enough to really change anything. They just get lots and lots of irregulars. So let's see. So we really want to break this open. So what is actually in there? The map. There's nothing in there. They're just entrenched. So we should be able to push them straight out. Well, we could help this with some special forces, because I don't even think we even need any of this. So let's get these special forces in there. That should be enough. Yep, I didn't need all of that, but that was good enough. So we've broken them out of their defences now. Here, he's already been pushed back. We've sort of moved him, so we can push him back again. I mean, this should be easy. 7 to 1 on DE. Well, that special force combo would be nice again, but I don't think we can get them over there. They've only got 1.25 movement, so let's just see what for. I'm pretty sure we should be able to do it. I don't want to use anything else just yet. 6 to 1 on the DE. Okay, so we're really pushing them back. He's at 0.8, so we should at least be able to. So we've pushed our line, given ourselves this sort of space. See what we could do. Big stack of engineers. Air defences. They've got 3 air defences. I'm pretty sure what's happened is I just haven't split them up. I think what we're going to have to do is sort of use, well, let's just use let's just bomb all of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's go 3, 3, 4. So that's 3. So we've done quite a lot of damage. So there's already sort of exploded engineering units that shouldn't really have been just hanging around there. 3 on here. They're going to be tougher, I think. Got 1.5. No, that's sort of straight translation there. Okay, and the rest on this air defense unit. I was reading today that Ukraine has been complaining that they've only received 30% of the artillery that they've asked for, and I know that they probably haven't even asked for what the full complement should be. But it's interesting, really, that the whole thing, because Putin said it would be over if the West stopped supplying them. So we're just sort of supplying them with all this artillery, and so it is really about all of this long-range artillery. But things like this, so when you're dealing with that, you've got to sort of consider, well, what is the implication of that? That's what I was talking about earlier, about sort of really trying to change the game, because I've tried to make this sort of more lots of little units with lots of artillery and lots of these sort of drone type things. I've given the Russians air power as well, because I think that that's sort of changing things. And so what we've got here is what some people call a I don't know, it's a grouping. It's not possible to mass troops anywhere because they get spotted fairly soon and then blown up. So what we've got here, which we didn't have, say, in other wars, is the sort of satellite observation, the aerial observation. I was reading something about, well, it's that AWAC plane that the Russians lost. It was actually sort of going up and down over Russia, because it's got such long-range radar that it could cover the whole of the warfield, the battlefield. So they're doing things over massive ranges with observation. So you can't get the sort of mass of units that would be required. And I think that you've got to sort of somehow call the bluff on that, from the point of view that you can drive, say, as long as you can amass them, instead of in one space, amass them in, say, 50-mile radius, somehow, that they're all in a 50-mile radius in one form or another, and then you can start an offensive, and the following units will basically drive 50 miles, which is basically just an hour away. You can make it even more. You can make it 100 miles. It's just an hour. It's just a couple of hours drive away if the roads are clear. So it's not that impossible. But when you've got something like this, obviously the Russians have spotted it and dealt quite a lot of damage on all of these units. 5.5 is 50% down, 24% down. It's fresh, 29% down, 50%. I mean, he's at 15% down, 46%. They lost a lot there because they were all grouped. And we haven't even done anything. All we've done is sort of just move. We just sort of moved about a bit and used our sort of aerial fire on this, because I think we're going to use our bombs and things like that on that. Although, so we've got this little area here. Okay. So this is all being done with indirect fire. $35, $33, $27, $34. So next turn we should be able to just knock them out. I mean, we can already start advancing down here anyway. Five to 1 DE. Should be able to push these out. It's going to be the same thing here, so let's give it another go. Oh, it's going to be a bit trickier. 5 to 1 DE. A bit riskier, but I want to push these units right back. This should be a 7 to 1. So that's a stronghold. But presumably these are fighting from field to field, ditch to ditch. Got to realise the Ukrainians will be able to hit back at the Russians probably as effectively because they're all on their own. So they'll be able to knock all these back, but will they be able to get to the engineers before they can clean this road up? Now we've got no more artillery or drones to sort of take that out, so but we could try outflanking